All right, I'm recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health West Parent Education Series. Today, we will be discussing visual supports. My name is Felina Goulet, and I'm a master's level behavior specialist in the autism program.
And I'm Kristen Adams, and I'm also a master's level behavior specialist in the autism program. And our program is the community mental health program for our county in Muskegon, Michigan. And we provide in-home, center, and community-based therapies. And then also, we said who we are, but I'm also going to give the little caveat of who we are not, which is we are not technology experts. So there may be, just letting you know, a couple glitches here and there as we go through this. And also, you know, yes, part of our job is research, and the stuff is research based, but you know, there's a lot of information that is out there as well, so this is not a you know, like fully encompassing of visual supports. The other piece is just a couple of like housekeeping type of things. Is you can use the chat in order to ask any questions that you might have, and then we will be recording this and putting it up on a YouTube channel. And so I don't know if there's anything else.
I think we're good. Ready to go?
Yeah. So visual supports are concrete cues that are paired with or used in place of a verbal cue to provide the learner with information about a routine activity, behavioral expectation, or skill demonstration. So often it is like a picture, or like an actual photograph or picture, and then the written words. So they can include words for readers, pictures, videos can also be used as visual supports. There are some applications. We're going to talk about a couple of those applications throughout our presentation. Again, it's not all of them that are there, but, and then drawings are also another way that you can provide visual supports. So we're going to just talk about some of the most common visual supports during this presentation. If you have a child with a developmental disability, then you might be already familiar with some of these visual supports, and your child might already be familiar with some of these visual supports. These visual supports work well for people with disabilities, without disabilities, and really of all ages. And if you think about it, once we start going through and giving you some examples, I think that you'll see how we use visual supports often throughout our days too. So some of the common visual supports and the ones we're going to cover during this are schedules, task analyses, and we're going to describe what these things are as we go through them. Token boards, first then, communication boards, and visual prompts. So there's a lot of reasons why visuals are important, but they ease anxiety. So especially when you're looking at schedules, which is the next thing that we're going to talk about, when a child has a schedule in front of them and knows that there might be a change or knows what's coming, what to expect, that can really make that anxiety decrease. It increases independence. So when you have a schedule or a task analysis, which is showing them the steps of a procedure, then that can really make it the child more independent. And going along with that, it decreases the need for prompting. So when I talk to parents about this, I always talk about, you know, the nagging gets to usually decrease and hopefully go away as you start doing you know, more of the visuals, because the child, you know, when they get some buy-in of it, realize that it works well for them and they're getting reinforcement from using it, then they won't need as many prompts for it. Visuals show expectations, and so again, that kind of alleviates you from having to tell the person what to do all of the time. And so those expectations can be seen. And then they promote communication. So there's specific ones that are specifically used for communication, but then in general, if you're using them correctly, and like we said in the first slide, that a lot of times they can be paired with written words. And often as you are using these, you are verbally telling the child what's coming next or what they're doing, and then you can have them repeat that if they are becoming vocal learners. So that can promote communication, and then it can also increase predictability. So it gives them that ability to know what's coming next, which also helps with easing anxiety. So I'm going to show you a little video here and take a look at these visual schedules. All right. So that gave some examples of schedules, and it gave some examples of different ways that you can easily make them. That's also something we're going to talk about. And towards the end of the presentation, we're going to give you some tips and tricks of some ways to be able to use either things you have around the house or really cheap items to be able to put some of these visuals in action. So schedules show which activities will occur and in which order. So it can be actual photographs, pictures, Google images, clip art, things like that, written words, objects. So for some of those like earliest learners, objects can represent different items or different activities, I'm sorry, or it can be a combination of all of those things. And then as you saw in the video, they can stay in a set location. So like the bathroom visual, stayed in there. You might have a visual for getting dressed, and so that can be in the child's room, or it can move around with them. If it's a visual schedule, it can stay in one part in the home. I have clients that use a visual schedule that just stays in the home, and then stays in one like set spot, and then like I think it's the refrigerator. And then I have other clients that they have one in a folder like what they showed, and then that's able to move around with them as needed. So there's lots of different examples. So you can do whole day schedules. And really for those, that would be for learners that don't need things broken down as much. Otherwise, it can be really overwhelming to have all of those things on there. So if that might be too overwhelming, you can do half day. That could also include when we get back to normal or the new normal or whatever life is going to look like after COVID. When kids are back in school, it can look like, before school, here's your routine and your schedule. And then after school, here's your schedule and routine. Activity schedules. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of those, but activity schedules can be for different activities that you are doing. Maybe you're doing a craft activity with your kids, and that schedule can show what you're doing. And checklists are also an example of schedules. So if you think of our checklist or to-do list, that can be a loose example of schedules. So in the left there, this is most likely a learner that is either learning about time or they have knowledge on time, and so it has the times that they're doing things, so they know how long they have to do things. So like they have 5 minutes between the time they wake up to start feeding the dog. So that's going through their morning routine from waking up all the way to getting on the bus. And then those things might be broken down more. Felina is going to be talking next about task analyses. So perhaps the kid needs some assistance with brushing teeth and the steps of that. So you might have this morning routine here, and then in the bathroom, there might be a task analysis for brushing teeth, really breaking down those steps if they need that assistance. So this shows like Velcro and how, you know, the green is it's finished. The other part on the right, the child's interest can be included. So this helps get a lot more buy-in when you're able to put in the interest of the child. So sometimes just as simple as a picture, if they love Avengers, just an Avengers picture, something that simple can make a really big difference. This one, I love it. It's Sound of Music. So I think that that's really cool. And they're talking about, you know, just having flexible thinking. So it said flexible thought of the day. Maria says to Captain Von Trapp, children need silliness in their lives. Unexpected happenings can sometimes be silly. So talking about how, you know, yes, the schedule's great, but schedules change. So another thing that's nice with this schedule that they used here with this checklist is they used like a dry eraser whiteboard marker, and you can see a few parts that were crossed off and something else was written in. And that may have been intentional. I know sometimes I make intentional changes if we're working through changes because there's behaviors around changes in routine, or that might have just been how the day, you know, worked out and they were able to work through that. And then there is a visual schedule planner app. So just wanted to kind of show you guys just a little picture of that. There is going to be a link of that in the at the end of our presentation, but you're able to take that app and really personalize it for your child. And so if you want to look at that, it's $14.99, I believe, but then you have all the rights to be able to personalize it and make it whatever your child needs. And then lastly, there's this bedtime schedule. And so for this, again, it has the time. It doesn't have to have the time if the child doesn't know how to tell time, or that's not going to make a difference. It has again, the words with the pictures, which is awesome. The other thing I really like is it shows that predictability. So it's saying mom's going to put you to bed on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and dad's going to put you to bed on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Also, if that were laminated or in a sheet protector, let's say, you know, mom goes and has book club on Wednesday one week, you can cross that out and write Wednesday by dad's. If you have, you know, if you just have it in a sheet protector or in laminate, you can easily make that change as well.
Okay, moving along. I'm going to talk about task analysis.
Yep.
Do I wear daddy's mask?
If
There we go. Okay, so a task analysis is the process of breaking a skill down into smaller, more manageable components. Once a task analysis is complete, it can be used to teach learners
are you gonna do that, Gwen?
a skill that is too challenging to teach all at once. Other practices such as discrete trial training, video modeling, and reinforcement can be used to teach individual components, building one upon the another until the skill is complete. So task analysis can be used for a bunch of things. It helps with independence. Like I said before, it breaks down tasks, but some stuff it can help teach is like washing hands, taking a shower, making a bed, brushing teeth, getting dressed, or making food. So there are a few steps with task analyses because they are slightly more in depth than just a regular schedule, because it does break things down so much. So the first step is to identify the target skill. So a target skill should consist of a series of chained discrete steps. It's really important to remember that discrete skills and complex tasks with multiple variables is not appropriate for a task analysis. A discrete skill, for example, is something that's too simple, like just turning on the water faucet. Something that's too complex would be like fully doing laundry from washing to drying, to folding to putting away. because just washing clothes contains multiple variables. Like you have to put the clothes in, you have to measure soap. So something that works well for task analysis and would be a correct thing to do would be like teeth brushing, because we can break that down into small components. Task analysis is frequently used to teach self-help and other adaptive skills. Step 2 is identifying the prerequisite skills of the learner and the materials needed to teach the tasks. So here I have a task analysis for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So in this first box, the first discrete skill is to get the ingredients. So it's really important to make sure we have all those ingredients. And the prerequisite skill for that would be that the child would have to have knowledge of the ingredients and where they're located. The second step, the second discrete skill would be opening up a bread bag and taking out 2 slices of bread. But we have to make sure that that child knows or has the fine motor skills to untwist the tie to open the bread. And also, do they have the ability to count to 2? The third step is breaking the skill into components. So professionals and teachers, parents, if you're going to create a task analysis, it has to be broken into manageable components. So you can either complete the skill yourselves and record each step that you do, or watch somebody else do it. You can do it via video. You can have a spouse or somebody else do the task, and you can write down the steps as they go. And just make sure that each component consists of a discrete skill. On this slide, I have a couple examples. So I did bring up the peanut butter and jelly sandwich making one. This one contains words and pictures, which I personally like to use. And for example, this is one that you could just keep right in the kitchen, right where all of the food items are. So the child can go into the kitchen and eventually independently make their own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they're going to have this visual there to help them do that. For some older kids, you don't have to have pictures. This task analysis on the right is for brushing teeth. And now you can add pictures to something like this. It's totally up to you. This is a step-by-step on how to brush your teeth. This is another thing you can just stick right by the sink in the bathroom. That way it's always there. And after they do learn this skill, it's still there to help them. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is token economy. So token economy is a system whereby participants earn generalized conditioned reinforcers like tokens, chips, or points as an immediate consequence for specific behaviors. Participants accumulate tokens and exchange them for items or activities from a menu of backup reinforcers. So token economies are used to decrease adverse behavior, increase target behavior, and help kids stay focused, motivated, and calm. You might have seen these used in schools a lot. Even when I was a kid, I remember we used to use token economies all the time. I'm going to show you this video of the way we use token economies in ABA.
So token boards are really great because they can be used for a wide variety of things. Anything from meal times to bath time to any activity that's basically a little tricky for kids. Even story time if the child isn't that interested in stories. We're trying to teach Cal how to do puzzles, but it's not his favorite activity. So in order to make it a more engaging activity, we're going to give him a token for each puzzle piece that he puts in. And then at the end of the tokens, when he has all 5, he gets this ball, which he really likes. We only have 4 puzzle pieces, so we're going to just put 1 token on. So there's just 4 tokens to fill in. So Cal's going to do 1 piece. Yay, good job. And 1 token. You have 1, 2, 3 more. Very good. 1 more, last piece. Ta-da! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job, you get your ball. So this seems really easy. However, a lot of time, you may have to really kind of get them through it by giving them hand-over-hand assistance for each piece and moving it quickly through to get them the tokens as quickly as possible. Start to teach them that tokens equal reward. And then you can slowly increase the number until you can use all 5. For example, something like circle time, you may start by giving a child a goldfish every minute that they sit in circle time. So we will introduce a token board where for every minute, they get a token on the token board. And at the end of 5 minutes, they get a goldfish to sort of extend and make it sort of a more natural experience. The idea being that over time, you would then be able to actually extend it for the entire circle time. At the very end of circle, they would get a goldfish. This does take practice both for the parent and the child to get used to using it. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't work the first time. It may take a few days of practicing before you're comfortable with it and your child's really understanding the concept. It's a really great tool for parents and therapy teams to use to help children stay motivated, stay focused, stay calm during difficult activities.
Okay. So this is pretty much how a token economy works. The child has no tokens or access to desirable items. 2, the child engages in a desirable behavior or target behaviors, so something we want them to do. And the child is given a token for engaging in these target behaviors. And finally, the child trades their tokens for access to desirable items or activities. So here I've included a few different token boards. Really, they're all the same thing. They just look a bit different. Some are longer than others. One important thing to remember with this visual is to print out pictures of the things the kid likes. So print out pictures of activities, items, whatever they like, and also make it personal for them. Personalized to a character or something that they like, that kind of makes them want to use it a lot more. So piggybacking off of token economy are the first then statements. So when we talk about first then statements, we follow this principle called the Premack principle, which states that making the opportunity to engage in a high probability behaviors contingent on the occurrence of low frequency behavior will function as reinforcement for the low frequency behavior. And pretty much what that's saying is that more preferred activity that's being offered is going to work as reinforcement for them to engage in the non-preferred activity. So first then statements or first then visuals are used for focus, motivation, decrease in adverse behavior, and increase in target behavior. And these are really simple. These are examples of how we use first then visuals. So when you have one of these, you can say, okay, first school, then video games. First work, then we have a break. So it really does work with pretty much anything you want your kid to do. It works really well with in the visual schedule. I know often I've used visual schedules and used this along with it when I'm working with the kid who really needs to see what's coming right after.
Um, Piggybacking off of the first then, or I guess adding to the first then part, if you want to just go back real quick, Felina. One of the other things with this is just like we had talked about at the beginning, this just shows that helps with the predictability. So you're going to do this activity and then you're going to get this activity. And the other piece with that too is if you have either a reader, or if you are good at drawing, or if your child just believes what you're saying, I've done something as simple as grabbing a sticky note when I don't have a first then available, or maybe I'm trying it for the first time with somebody, and I just write, okay, first we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. So it doesn't, I mean, these are great, and this is, you know, this is probably going to get more attention. And but if you don't have something or you just want to try it out, if they're able to read it, or if it's a kid that some kids are going to be like, that's not what you put, or they're going to be like, oh, then you said that I get to do this, and that's not what was agreed upon. Or if you're good at drawing and you can sketch it real quick, like first work, and you like just put a picture of like the worksheet or whatever, and then like then game, and then you can make like the picture of the game board or something super fast. But it can just be as simple as just using sticky notes or a paper that you have next to you. It doesn't have to be fancy. So communication boards, it's a board with symbols, pictures, and or written words to assist the children with limited expressive communication. So typically the words are on there and then there's a symbol or picture with it. Children can use it to point to the item. They can gesture towards the item or gaze if they don't have pointing down yet, to communicate what they want or what they need. And this typically what you're doing is, as you're teaching them this, if they touch, let's say banana, then you would say, oh, you want a banana, banana. And if they are starting to imitate vocally, then you would have them, give some sort of imitation to that. So it can start with that expressive communication, but even if they are not vocally communicating, this gives them the ability to still communicate with you. So there's choice boards for food that they want to do and activities they want to do. And then I'm going to show you a couple activity boards that are fun for like an art activity or games to be able to still participate in those things and still verbally participate, just not vocally participate. So this is the example of food, and then the other one is activities. So the I want is on there as well. So if you have a kid that you're starting to work on sentences, then, I want, they might point to that, and then you point to, I want toy cars, or I want apple. So again, having them vocalize if they're able to, but if not, they are still showing you what they want at that time. And then the next ones, I really like using ones like this. Hold on, it's coming. So that one in the left is used during a game of Go Fish. So the kid can touch that top left corner. Do you have any? And then they get to touch which one. So they get to choose. They're able to participate in that game, even though they can't vocally say, do you have any fives? They can point, do you have any? And fives. A great way to teach this is, for you to use it as well with your child. So you might have, you might want to teach your child this game. You might find this hint. It may or may not be on Google. I'm just kidding. Google things. Google is your friend for visuals. And so then they're able to, you can say, oh, do you have any 8s? And you're able to, model for the child. I also love it because you can see on this right-hand side that there's even parts where the kids can comment like, oh man, if they didn't get it, or oh snap, because, maybe they took all of somebody else's cards. Working on your turn, my turn. So that gives this ability to communicate. Same thing down at the bottom. So this is like for playing with Play-Doh. And so then, kids are able to ask for a different color. They're able to ask to cut or make shapes, or, if they want to roll. You even could have the Play-Doh tools on there as well. And then they can, request those. We're going to move on to the next one, but I just wanted to remind you, if you have any questions about any of the things, to go ahead and put that in the chat. Visual cues, and this is actually our last one. We have a few more things that we're going to talk about in terms of visuals after this, but visual cues is the last basic type of visual prompting that we're going to talk about. So they can be prompts to promote independence. They might be instructions on how to do something, or visual boundaries. So I really like that picture down there when it says, when I see it, then I understand. So there's a quote, and now I'm not going to think of it right now, but that somehow goes where, if you show me it, if you model it, if you show me, then I'm going to better understand that. And so that's why visual cues can be really important. So a couple of examples of visual cues. So the one on the left, so that's one that I actually have made recently for one of my clients. He liked to go down to the basement. So down in the basement, the 3 things that he loved to do were ride the exercise bike, play on the drum set, and jump on the trampoline. So we were working on, obviously we worked on first locking the door, but now we wanted him to communicate, hey, what do you want? So that stop sign adds that prompt of, you have to stop. And then like the parent would say, what do you want? While pointing to the what do you want sentence. And then he is able to point to which object he wants. And then the parent would verbalize what that is and have the child imitate and repeat that. Up in the right hand corner, that's just some painter's tape. Painter's tape is really awesome to use if you want to make visual boundaries, because it comes off of carpet easier. Classroom carpet, that's not really carpet, that's just like really padded down. It comes off of that easy, but floors and stuff too. So like this might be used for a child that likes to get up all of the time when they're at the table. And so you can even pair this with the token boards that Felina was talking about. So, hey, we're going to stay inside of our blue area. And, as they're staying in there, you're giving them tokens and praise. And like, look, you stayed in there for 5 minutes. Maybe each token is 1 minute. And then, great job. You stayed in your area while you were eating for 5 minutes. And then they get whatever you guys had agreed on. So that can just kind of give some visual boundaries for you as well. The clock. So for a kid that might not know exactly how to tell time, maybe you're teaching them time, or you just want them to understand some of the concept of time. I've seen this a few different ways where instead of having like that paper on the side that says what the items are, it might even be written in on that part on the clock. But this is just kind of showing the child, this is the amount of time that you're getting for each of these things. And then another thing that you can use, this is super easy to use at home. Let's say your kids just put toys everywhere and you want to start organizing things. This is a picture of a classroom, but it's something that you can do at home too. If you have bins, you can, put the picture on the outside and then put the picture down where you want it to be. Another example of this that actually a lot of us use and we just don't really think about it is maybe even like those drawers, the plastic drawers, and it might say like construction paper, markers, crayons. That's an example of visual cues as well. That's cueing the child on where those things can go. So that can help with organization. And again, promote the independence. When you say it's time to clean up, instead of you saying which bin it has to go in and where the bin goes, the child's not able to do that themselves. So some tips and tricks for visuals. So use items of interest to your child. So, Felina showed some token boards that had, cars and Lightning McQueen on it. And then I showed some things that had like the Sound of Music. Again, sometimes it's just having the picture of, something that they like on there. I had a client once that loved Spider-Man. So it said like, Spider-Man loves brushing his teeth. This is how Spider-Man brushes his teeth. And then it was the visual task analysis of brushing teeth. It's the same visual task analysis I would have used. Anyways, I just added the Spider-Man part and the kid was like, sweet, Spider-Man likes to brush his teeth and do this. And now we have some more buy-in. The other thing to help with that buy-in is include your child in creating the visuals. You can do that by asking them about preferences. So like, what's something that you like? What's something you would want to see on here? Or allowing them to help create the entire thing. That does take a lot longer. But then the child is typically more interested in it and more willing to try it and work with you on it. I did a token system with a client, and we sat down and made, like, we Googled, which goes to the next one, but he liked Legos. So we Googled Lego guys, and each token was a different picture of a Lego guy. So Google is your friend. So many items are already made, and if they aren't free, they're usually inexpensive. At the very least, they'll give you ideas of what to do.
I know you can find a lot of task analyses already made online. They are usually free. Like Kristen said, they might cost $1 or $2, but there are a lot of task analysis that are already made. And you might have to tweak it a little bit to fit your own child's needs. But Google's definitely good advice because, I mean, there's so much stuff that you
Yeah,
can
and when
find.
you're going to look for those tokens, you know, if your child loves Lightning McQueen, Google Lightning McQueen and figure out which picture he really loves, and then you take that and you shrink it down to the size that you would want for your tokens. So the first video that we showed that had like the different schedules, those are the other thing that you can use to or you can use those things, I'm sorry, for lots of different types of visuals. So the token boards, you've seen them like with the Velcro. If you don't have access to Velcro, which you actually can get at like Walmart and things like that, you can just use putty, like poster putty as well. And then I put on here too, if you don't have the ability to laminate, use page protectors. So you can buy a packet of the page protectors that have, you know, the binder, the 3-ring binder pieces on it, so that you're able to, you know, flip through or whatever. But you can put in the paper and it protects it. But then it also gives you the ability to use a dry erase marker on it. So if you need to change anything or if it's a written schedule, you can do all of those things on page protectors. And so if you have let's say you have a token board in your page protector, you can then use like putty to put the tokens on top of the page protector to have them stick to that piece. So it doesn't have to be fancy.
Nope.
So these are some links for you. Again, this website's going to be up. I don't know. We can probably put these links to in the chat. I'm not sure if I have access to be able to do that.
I can do it.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the Visual Schedule Planner app. That's first for that one. Like we said before, it is $14.99, but there are a lot of different things that you're able to do with that. And then I know Felina had looked up the other token economy ones on there.
Yeah, so this first one is ABA Token Economy Systems and ABA Reinforcers. This is a really good resource that already has things made up. It has a bunch of different topics, lots of, I don't know, it has a bunch of different characters that you can use and download. On the second one, Token Economy Tips and Resources, there's really good tips on this, but also on the bottom of this PDF are links that will actually bring you to some resources where you can print out stuff. It also includes some apps on there that I actually wasn't aware of until I was researching this. But there are actually apps that you can put on your tablet, your iPhone, iPad, and they are token economies that you can just use right there, which is honestly less mess. We have found other really cool daily schedule apps. Some you can try for a month before you have to buy it, so that's kind of cool as well. But definitely check out these resources.
So I did just put the those references in the chat. For some reason, the Visual Schedule Planner app isn't going on there as an actual link, but you can look that up either in your app store or just even Googling the Visual Schedule Planner, and you know, and that will give you some more information so that you can decide if you want to move forward with that or not. Are there any questions that anyone has? No, that was a ton of examples. So I hope that you'll take some time to go back through those and look through those. We are also going to be creating an email for questions, but as of right now, I can I'll put in my email address. Felina, if you want to put in your email address in the chat, if you have any questions. Mine went. All right. Otherwise, once Felina gets hers in there, I'm going to try mine one more time because I don't know if it shows up this way on yours, but for mine, it showed up as like part of the link. Okay. So, see, I forewarned people beforehand.
And I'm not sure if are we posting these PowerPoints as well, or no?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be available as well, but I'm sure we can get it to whoever wants it. So.
All right. And there's our references if you're interested in that.
Super exciting stuff. So.
And otherwise, we hope that you guys are staying safe and healthy and are having a good time with all this extra time with your family.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night.